Today, the McCutcheon case came down. The Supreme Court said, yes, Sean McCutcheon, you can buy as many politicians as you want. And I'm looking around and I'm seeing, there's a fair number of politicians who have actually said, yeah, let's amend the Constitution, but let's carve out an exemption for, my favorite group, a union or we had on this program last week the group that Ralph Nader started. What's the name of it? I'm forgetting. In any case, we had them on, and they were like, well, let's let nonprofit corporations still have rights as persons. And I'm like, you'll actually have more power if no corporation has rights of persons, because nonprofits and unions are membership organizations, and they can speak to their members, whereas corporations are not. But that's a whole other argument. But when I look at the field of candidates out there who are taking a very solid stand and building their candidacy on the idea that A, money is not found in the First Amendment, is not protected by the First Amendment as speech or as anything else, and B, that corporations are not found in the 14th Amendment. Lincoln didn't fight the Civil War to free the corporations. The 14th Amendment is clearly and unambiguously there to provide equal protection under the law to the slaves, to former slaves, is Marianne Williamson. Marianne Williamson is one of the few candidates in this country who is taking this kind of a position, and she is running for Henry Waxman's seat. He is retiring in California. It is the 33rd District of California, roughly Los Angeles area. Marianne Williamson is the author of 10 books, lecturer, thought leader, Marianne.com, MarianneForCongress.com, her websites. And Marianne, welcome back to the program.
Oh, thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for having me.
It is great to have you on. First and foremost, I'm curious your thoughts on McCutcheon.
Well, I think it's a dark day for American democracy. This is like NAFTA on steroids, right? I mean, Citizens United on steroids. And it's just like a nail in the coffin, another one. I mean, it's amazing. Somebody could spend up to over $5 million giving to PACs, giving to political parties. The only good I can see is that I think it's an awakener. I think that there was a rumble about Citizens United, but with this one, I know because I've been, as you said, waging a campaign where, to me, this is the message I've been given, that the money in politics is the cancer underlying, the issue underlying all other issues. It's the cancer eating our democracy, the nefarious effects of Citizens United. But I think the McCutcheon case and this decision takes it so far that it's obvious to anyone that the de-democratization of the United States of America, it's the goal here. This is what's going on here, right in front of us. Turn us into
an oligarchy, basically.
Absolutely, and we repudiated an aristocracy 200 years ago. We're going to have to repudiate it again.
Yeah, well, and I would argue that we nearly repudiated it with the Progressive Revolution back in the 1900s, the 19-teens, and again with the New Deal. And, and arguably, again, with the Great Society. I mean, we keep trying, and we get a little bit of the way there, but it's like we really need to take this thing all the way. And good candidates like you can pull that off. Marianne, I mentioned a couple hours ago that you were going to be on the program, and somebody called in during one of the breaks about 20 minutes ago and said, would you please ask Marianne how she's going to deal with her being known as, and he said, an airy-fairy thought leader, a spiritual leader. He qualified it by saying, I love the Course in Miracles. But how do you reconcile that with politics? And I'm guessing you get that question a lot. I know that you've already addressed on this program before, but I see that, frankly, as an asset for you. But let me give you an opportunity to respond to that caller.
Well, I don't think anyone who has actually read my books or heard me lecture thinks that about me. Mm-hmm. But there's a caricature drawn from people who, like I said, they haven't read my books or they haven't heard me lecture. It's difficult to fight a caricature.
Right.
The truth of the matter is, Martin Luther King said it was time to inject a new dimension of love into the veins of human civilization. No one called him a New Age woo-woo. I mean, you could pick some of the sentences from Mahatma Gandhi, from Martin Luther King, and they're all about, as Martin Luther King in describing Gandhi said, love as a broad-scale social force for good. So, people say what they want to say, but the truth of the matter is I'm proud to be part of a larger conversation in this country that feels that politics should have a conscience, that love should be the bottom line in politics as well as everything else, that humanitarian values rather than economic values should be the guiding force in our civilization, and that this is not naive, that anybody who thinks that we can survive and thrive as a species for another 200 years, if we do not cultivate more brotherhood and justice, I think they're naive.
I think it's interesting that Dwight Eisenhower, in his farewell address in 1961, his famous military-industrial complex warning, added that the corrosive effect of the military-industrial complex included a spiritual corrosive element.
Absolutely, and I think he's correct, because what we have, as he predicted we would have if we did not rein in the military-industrial complex, is an entire economy that is a war economy, and it is toxic to the soul. That your primary orientation towards life is war. Your primary orientation towards life is fear. Your primary orientation towards life is defense. And that's not a naive statement. I mean, I don't think anybody would argue that, there are people who genuinely hate us, and the idea that we would have a robust ability to respond to psychotic, attacks, of course, I don't think we disagree. But what we have formed is an entire emotional and psychological constellation of attitudes that have to do with how to attack and how to defend, rather than a proactive cultivation of brotherhood and justice and peace.
Yeah. We're talking with Marianne Williamson. She is running for Henry Waxman's old seat in the 33rd District of California. The author of 10 books, lecturer and thought leader, Marianne.com and MarianneForCongress.com, perhaps more importantly, and one of the most outspoken candidates in the country for getting money out of politics. And I think that this is I've always thought that your candidacy was important and consequential. And this issue, I think, is the most important and consequential issue today. And because, as you correctly point out, it underlies everything else. It's the original cancer. And I'm so glad to see that you're running. How's it going, Marianne?
Well, it's going very well. People hear this message. And I think it's in the zeitgeist. And I think today with the McCutcheon case, you can really feel, it's like this electricity in the air around people really waking up to this. So I think that the message that we need political heft around this. You were talking before about movetoamend.org. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on outside Congress, but we can't leave electoral politics out of the formulation. Particularly if you're talking about the, preparing a constitutional amendment to send to the states for ratification. So I think people are open to the realization that in order for this new pro-democracy movement to have real political heft and have genuine force, it's going to have to be not just about people outside the electoral system. It's going to have to be that we run candidacies and we run winning campaigns. And I think people have a sober realization that this is true. I think that here in District 33 also, L.A. prides itself, Los Angeles pride ourselves on the fact that we start new conversations here, and they become national trends within 5 years. And we need a new conversation in order to have a new America. It needs to start at that ground zero of realizing the de-democratization that is occurring because of the undue influence of money. And California can lay down the gauntlet. We can lay down the gauntlet with this race, that people all over the country would know that LA actually sent an independent voice to Congress expressly on this issue of getting the money out of politics. And I think it would create a space around the country to inspire and motivate more candidates, because that's what we're going to need, Tom, obviously. It's not just one person in Congress. This is a whole huge movement. And I feel that there is a real chance that District 33 of California will say, yeah, let's do this. Because if not our generation, then who? If not when? If not now, then when? And I think many people see this particular election as an opportunity to do that.
And for those people who might want to go to MarianneForCongress.com .com and pitch in or help out or whether they're in the 33rd district or not, let's explain the process. California has a top 2 primary system. Can you tell us how that works and when it's happening?
Yes. What we have in California is an open primary in which instead of voting in the Democratic primary or Republican primary, everybody in the state gets the same ballot. Everybody in the district would get the same ballot. And then instead of somebody winning the Republican primary and somebody else winning the Democratic primary, etc., whoever the top two vote getters are on June 3rd, our primary date, then goes to they then go to the general election on in November. So it could be two Democrats, a Democrat and a Republican, a Democrat and an independent and a Republican, whoever the top two vote getters are on June 3rd. And people have to be registered by May 19th. So it's a big deal. And any support that anyone feels like sending our way is deeply appreciated, and I think will be well used, because we'll do everything possible to slam this election and win the primary.
Yeah, and this is a system actually that favors, that doesn't disfavor independent candidates like most others do. And you, like Bernie Sanders, are running as an independent.
Absolutely, like Bernie Sanders, and if I win, I will be in the House like independent in the House like Bernie Sanders is in the Senate.
And may you carry on his tradition. Marianne Williamson, MarianneForCongress.com is the website. Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you so much.
Keep up the great work. I am so pleased that you are doing this.
God bless you.
So pleased.
I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you, Marianne. We'll be back.